This week, the Primus demo finally got approved. Third time lucky. Because for the last few weeks, the Primus demo has really felt like it's almost been ready but not quite there. There's always been something to clean up or one more issue to fix, or simply something didn't feel right. And this week was honestly supposed to be the week where I finally got the demo out, but as usual, things changed a little bit. Last week, I talked about how I wanted to make Primus feel more like a dungeon crawler, because I think really the main issue was that I'd been describing the game that way, but actually in reality, it felt a lot more like some sort of just a series of turn-based fights that you got into a fight, you finished it, and you moved on to the next one, and that was about it. So last week, I obviously started adding more dungeon sort of crawler style stuff where you could obviously, in between fights, you can move through a generated route and make decisions. And that technically worked. But this week, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that calling it a dungeon crawler didn't really feel right for the game. Because Primus isn't really about exploring caves, ruins, or anything like that. It's about gladiators. And the thing that started to make more sense to me was turning that system into more of an expedition. So instead of the idea of obviously going through a dungeon, you're navigating the route to get to the arena. And that might sound like a small wording change, but it makes the idea click a lot more. Because in the Roman setting, the challenge wasn't just the fight itself back in the day, it was everything around it as well. Your gladiators might get injured, sick, they could get ambushed, something could go wrong before they even reach the arena. And that honestly felt a lot more better than just simply here's the dungeon. So this week I started shifting that system away from being a dungeon crawler and more towards an expedition crawler. Now at the moment it's pretty simple, but the structure is now there. The game can procedurally generate routes with different paths that split off and eventually all lead towards the final arena node. Now, you might have a few different choices along the way, and then once you reach the end, you enter the arena. The next thing I added is that the expedition you can choose can affect how many arena battles there are. So one expedition might have one fight at the end, while another might have 2 or 3. And, once you completed those fights, the expedition is finished. It's still a bit rough and there's definitely a lot more that I want to do with it, but I'm happier with this direction. And likelihood is when it comes to the procedural generation, I think I'm going to be looking a lot more into how Darkest Dungeon looks to do theirs, and take a lot more inspiration from that, because I think the way it's currently generating isn't quite up to standard, but it's still working nonetheless. And I think, that being said, it is also it has been a bit of a risk, right? Because I've been obviously trying to get the demo out this week, and I've basically been changing a very big core part of the game. But in reality, I honestly think it was the best call. I'd rather delay things and release something I'm happier with than push something out just because I said I would. And I don't really want people to play something which is pretty much half-baked in my opinion. So that's pretty much that. Now, outside of the expedition system, I also spent a decent amount of time cleaning up the UI in the HUD. There were quite a lot of panels and just buttons and just general UI that became a bit messy over time, or just things that really could have been a lot more minimalistic. One of the main things was things like combat, where some of the information was useful, but honestly, I didn't need a lot of it. So the combat feels a lot cleaner now, and just various other scenes and panels, which I'm really happy with. And this is one of those things where it's not always the most exciting work to show, but it does make a big difference. Because especially when you're playing, a turn-based game, you're constantly looking at the UI, so if it feels messy, it's going to have an impact. So that's that. So a lot of this week, honestly, has been less about brand new flashy details, and it's honestly just making things feel a lot easier at the moment. Now, with the demo at the moment, it should let you progress up to about 2 of the arena gatekeeper bosses. After that, you pretty much hit a cap for the demo. You won't be able to rank up your Ludus any further, and that's obviously where the version ends. But before I release that, I want to actually make sure the whole flow works, because I'm very much yet to get to the end of the demo and play it through myself. So that's obviously something I need to figure out, because I'm not going to release it without knowing what's coming next. The other thing is I'm going to be working on the demo trailer. The good news is that the music and the voiceover are already done. The main thing I need is the gameplay footage, which obviously I've been holding off on recording until the game was in a better place, just simply because I didn't want to make the trailer using footage that I already knew was outdated. So honestly, the plan is to get the demo trailer finished and released first, and ideally, that'll be tomorrow. I might also update the Steam screenshots around the same time, depending on how much time I get done. But that's pretty much the plan, because I want to be able to at least like give you the actual trailer so you can get a better see for what the game looks like. And obviously I've said similar things before, and that's obviously end up me pushing it back. So I don't really want to pretend it's locked in, but now that the demo has actually been approved and the main structure feels clearer, it does feel a lot closer. So that's the plan. The demo obviously being approved is good. So now I can just focus on getting the last few things done. I think honestly, I think over time, I'm going to obviously continue to say, I think the game's going to be done by here, or it's going to be done by here. It's always just trying to give you guys a good idea of when I think it's going to be done, but I think I'm finding that things always take longer than I expect. So that's the reality of it. But yeah, I think if I can get the trailer released tomorrow, that will be something to give to you. And then, yeah, if I can obviously release the demo as well, maybe sort of Wednesday, Thursday time, that would be really good as well. And yeah, from there, I mean, it's going to be taking whatever feedback I can get, assuming it's constructive and helpful, and then be able to apply it where it makes sense and keep on working on the game. Because yeah, like I think I just want to be able to really try and make this game good, or at least better than Scarred Steel, which I think to some level it does already feel that way, which is good. Yeah, and then obviously once I sort of finish Primus, I'll be looking at other games. So looking forward to it. If you are interested in Primus, feel free to give it a wish list. Really, really does help support the game, and I'll catch you soon.